Hello, everybody. We are going to be talking about the timeline in Star Wars, an editorial done by Star Wars Newsnet that I thought was fascinating. It looks like Filoni's movie does have a title, and even though I talked about it a little bit yesterday or Monday, when the hell it was, I lose track of time. I'm here with Steph Sabraw to talk about that. Ahmed Best. He had a character in The Mandalorian. Looks like that character might be returning. And then there's a few other stories that aren't necessarily Star Wars. There's some Indiana Jones stuff. There's some trailers from Garreth Edwards on Rogue One. And there's a few other movie-related topics. We'll talk about that and why this is a big thing with Sith Council for a good half an hour. But we'll get into that in a little bit. It's me and Steph Sabraw here today. Now, if you haven't been here long enough and you've never hit that button, show a little class. Will you hit that button? Get us to 100,000. We do long form, we do short form, we do everything. Reactions, the whole 9 yards. And we're going to be in New York, we think. I'm being honest with everyone. We've sold shit for tickets. So if we sell enough, we'll be there. Same thing with Stamford, Connecticut. I want to be able to give the club enough time that if we have to cancel it. And one of the things that I had said, you can buy tickets at thekristianharloff.com, but one of the things that I had said was yesterday on the show, that I just feel that maybe I overestimated the live audience at the moment as we're building. We've been doing this for a year and a half. But we are trying to build out. If you can get tickets to come see us in New York, do it today because it'll help us out and we can be there. If not, we're going to do these after-party shows that you can see, again, at thekristianharloff.com. But we have all these things we're going to talk about today with myself and Steph Sabraw on this episode of Big Thing. So thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. All right, you ready? Me too. Here we go. What's up, everybody? It is me, Kristian Harloff, here on a Wednesday, 2023, the year of our Lord. Here, I never really understood that. Did you get that?
No.
Wow, it's the year. Isn't every year the year
the
of our
year
Lord?
of our Lord.
I don't know. Someone's gonna tell us why. Steph Sabraw is here.
Ahoy, mateys.
I did this. Can you move over a little bit in the center?
Yeah.
I didn't scare you up. That's fine.
Ahoy, mateys.
Ahoy, mateys, indeed. Mike Kalinowski not here today, but we are here. And look at that. So it's the big thing today. Why is it the big thing? Well, here's what. We're going to be doing on Wednesdays until the Skeleton Crew comes out. I keep saying that. Ahsoka. Until Ahsoka comes out. We're going to cover Star Wars for the first half an hour, 40 minutes, however long it really takes us and how many stories there are. So you're not going to lose a full-on Sith Council. It's like, oh, man, I tuned in for Sith. Don't worry. All those topics and everything that we normally would talk about, it's going to be, the Wednesday episodes will be Star Wars heavy, but we also want to cover other movie news stories because what we don't want to do is that there's some big news that came out we want to cover instead of saving it for just the Thursday show and to get Steph and Mike's takes on these things also. But once Ahsoka comes out, and those things will probably be full on back for just Star Wars the entire time. There's not a ton of Star Wars news out there right now, and there's a few things, especially now with the writer strike and everything too. We thought this would make sense and just give us a chance to get Steph, today Steph's opinion on certain things. We're going to talk about Indiana Jones. She just started watching those movies, so there's a lot. But we're going to start, Steph, with some Star Wars stuff off the bat. Did you hear this thing about the leak about what the Filoni's movie might be called?
I didn't. I heard that, but I didn't see what the title was.
You didn't see what it was?
No.
So I talked about it yesterday, so I'm just giving, again, another spoiler to those people who want to be, who don't want to know yet until it comes out. It's not official, but it's just a big rumor. And here it is. Heir to the Empire is what they're saying it's going to be called. Now, this is based off of the Timothy Zahn novels of the same name. The question now starts to be, well, are they going to take a lot from the actual books? Like how much? Because Filoni has said in a lot of his interviews that he's a fan of the trilogy. He obviously has used Thrawn. He talks to Timothy Zahn. So the question whether there's a Mara Jade character or any of the characters that appeared in those novels, and then Luke Skywalker, which we've talked about. I thought that there's so many different options. One of the options could be just rewriting a lot of it to then throw Ahsoka in the lead and use Ezra as the lead, and whether or not you believe the Kathleen Kennedy stuff that she has put a mandate down and no more Luke Skywalker. There's so much, and he can make his own version, alternate timeline of what it is. What do you think?
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
First of all, I do think that I don't know. I would be shocked if it didn't have any pull from the books with the exact same title and with the relationship between the two, and it being some of people's favorite Star Wars books that have ever come out. I want to read them. Have you done the audiobook of them?
That's what So the audiobook I have done. There's a few that I've just read through, and then there's the ones that I've done audiobooks. That is the audiobook that I did, and it's perfect.
Okay.
Because Mark Thompson, who does the narrating on a lot of books, he is so good, and he's great with this because he does Thrawn's voice incredible. So much so that I wonder if Mickelson listened to him at all, because it's similar, but he's so good at it. And I would recommend the audiobook for all three of those, and I would recommend trying to listen to them as sooner than later.
No, I'm going to.
Yeah.
I love audiobooks,
Yeah,
so this is going to be my next one.
Even though obviously it's not canon, but with this potential of them naming it, Heir to the Empire, which I think is a great idea. They've already used the title, or used that word. She says it in that trailer,
right?
In Ahsoka, she says the Heir to the Empire, or somebody says it, and to actually take those moments and put it in the movie. I still think Luke needs to be in that movie, though.
I think he will be.
You think so?
Yeah.
You know why I said it yesterday? One of the main reasons I think he needs to be in it is it's the same reason that he was in Mandalorian season 2 at the end. Mm-hmm. Where else would he be? It's different if they're in the unknown regions, but if they're back, what's he doing? He's just sitting around not helping?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No.
And with the tech being so good now, it was already better the second time we saw him than the first time.
Right.
In 2 years or whenever they start production on this, it's going to look really good.
It's going to look really good. I agree with you. So, again, Heir to the Empire, the potential title. Very curious to hear what you guys think about it. Do you think it should be Heir to the Empire? Do you think that they will call it that? I don't know. And I was looking into that camera because I'm so used to it. Yeah. Let's get to another story here in the Star Wars universe. Okay, I wanted to bring up this thing from Star Wars Newsnet and Alexander Giles. Excuse me if I got that wrong. They did this thing, the complete new Star Wars timeline from Dawn of the Jedi to New Jedi Order. And I think this is pretty fascinating, considering that this is one of the main things I do give Lucasfilm a lot of credit on. I think that it's a very smart idea to do this for filmmakers and writers that are coming in to say, well, you know what, I'm thinking about doing a pitch to Lucasfilm, and I want to do something in the Dawn of the Jedi era, or the Old Republic era, or the Fall of the Jedi era. They have places to pick from. So this is from Alexander. The Star Wars universe is vast and expansive across different medias, including movies, TV shows, books, comics, video games, and more. And this is the new canon Star Wars timeline. But first, a bit of history, and they go into the canon of the Star Wars and how it was kind of the comics, the novels, the games, all of that. There was the Before the Republic, there was the Old Republic, there's the Rise of the Empire, the Rebellion, the New Republic, the New Jedi Order, and then Legacy. And then in 2014, Disney took over Lucasfilm, and they announced they would create a new canon for the franchise. And that meant that certain aspects of the Star Wars universe, the EU, all that wasn't really continuity. Instead, there was a new canon that was established. And now, since then, the only previous material still considered canon are the 6 original films, prequel trilogy, Clone Wars TV series, Star Wars Rebels animated TV, Marvel Star Wars comic books, and novels that began with A New Dawn. They're also part of the new canon, and they were the first published works integrating input from the Lucasfilm Story Group, which manages story concepts and in-universe details across all forms of media. Now, at Star Wars Celebration that happened in April, Lucasfilm announced 3 new movies, along with updated timelines that now look like the following image. There is the Dawn of the Jedi, there is the Old Republic, the High Republic, the Fall of the Jedi, Reign of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, New Republic, Rise of the First Order, and New Jedi Order. So you have 9 eras in the timeline. Now, one of the biggest stopping points is a lot of the movie fans digging deeper into the current EU. On Disney Plus, they have excellent chronological order options for Star Wars, even if it does miss out the likes of Tales of the Jedi. So the Dawn of the Jedi is 25,000 BBY. So I think that's before Yavin, I think. The era was announced at the Star Wars Celebration, and it is set to take place 25 years before The Phantom Menace. This place is even before the Old Republic and anything we've seen in any form of media. They don't have a release date to anything there, and then they just talk about Mangold. But then the Old Republic is around 25,000 years before to 1000. The Old Republic era is now official part of the timeline, and it's usually talked about as part of the Old Legends continuity, where it encompasses a 7,000-year span and includes the Republic, the Sith Wars, and Darth Revan, Satel Shan, Tenebra, and Darth Malgus. The successful 2003 video game Knights of the Old Republic is set there as well. And then you've got the High Republic, and right now the High Republic has all those books, and the High Republic takes place about 500 years beforehand. And that was it was almost like these kind of remind me of like the Roman times.
Yeah.
Is what I really like with what they're doing here. And then they have again, there's a lot of High Republic stuff right now that people can look at all these books, and Claudia Gray has been really making a mark, as she does every time she does something, but she's doing stuff in the High Republic. There's a lot of new characters, a lot of these images I'm showing you right now. And then obviously the Acolyte, which comes out, and that's about 100 years before, and that's ending towards the High Republic era. Now, the Fall of the Jedi is the era in Star Wars that is up to the period leading to the original trilogy. And you've obviously got the Count Dooku era and the prequels and all of that stuff. That's a lot of people know that. That's kind of what Steph's era of how she was introduced to Star Wars is this era. And then the one that for me, that I grew up on Star Wars, and a lot of people did, is Reign of the Empire, and that's 19 BBY to 9, and that's the original trilogy and the Empire's rule. And so really fascinating. This is more detailed when you go to Star Wars Newsnet to check this out. Like really break down a full-on timeline of it all. And then there's the Age of the Rebellion, which covers most of the beloved eras. This is, I guess, Rogue One. Excuse me. So let me see then. The Reign of the Empire is Bad Batch, Solo, and Obi-Wan. Excuse me. Age of the Rebellion is the original trilogy. So that's Andor and all that. So there's a lot of, this timeline is thick, right? The New Republic is 4 ABY to 33 ABY, and the New Republic era is a fascinating period. You're going to have the Mandalorian in there at some point. You're going to have Ahsoka and Boba Fett and all the shows that we've kind of been getting. That's where this lands. And you obviously got the Battlefront story, which I really wish they'd do something with Aiden Verso, which would be really great. And then what's past that? And past that is Rise of the First Order, and that's going to be Snoke and Kylo Ren and the new movies, and obviously all the stuff that we saw inside of there. And then there's the Resistance, that the animated series, and then the New Jedi Order, which is going to be an unknown and exciting possibilities. And this is where this Rey movie is going to hit, and then everything kind of afterwards. So this is, and you got the movie coming from Sharmina by Chinoy, which is going to come out in 2025. So Steph, there's a lot here. There's a ton. At what stands out to you if you're writing stories, right? And they're like, okay, Steph, you can do a movie. Where would you go first?
I would probably do what Damon Lindelof was trying.
So 60 years forward, so towards Dawn of the Jedi, but just farther out.
Farther out, yeah. I think that there's more richness in, let's say, the High Republic, because just visually, it's like in my mind when I'm reading the book, there's so many Jedis.
Right, yeah.
And just how cool that would be to have this like Troy-like battle that you see playing out. So I think maybe that, or so way back or in the future.
See, I want to go even more back. For me, it's Old Republic, because by the time you get to the High Republic, the Jedi are the ones that are thriving, right? Because of the war. And this is why you're creating this history, why I think it is fascinating if they do it right, And it is like this Roman history,
which we love.
We love, in the Game of Thrones type thing, where they can build that out. If you go back further enough and look at what Mangold's going to do with that movie, and really establish it all first, and see how we eventually got there and how it all ties together. The Old Republic to me is more fascinating, because by the time you're in the High Republic, the Jedi are, it's like they're just running shop, very similar to where there were certain places. What was it? I think it was Game of Thrones, or I can't remember, where the armies are just, there's been no war. There's really been nothing. So they're just walking around, kind of able to, who are they fighting? Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same, and it's almost like House of the Dragon. At House of the Dragon, there was not any major wars. So they weren't really so equipped to battle a lot of these. And so that's why Sir Christos or whatever was one of the few people who actually saw battle. That to me is what the High Republic is, and that's what the Acolyte is. It's so fascinating as the end of the High Republic starts to happen, the infiltration of the Jedi. But the Old Republic, that's when all the Sith army is running around. And you're going to see, like, my favorite is that Old Republic video game trailer that they did when the Sith get off the ship and they're just battling all the Jedi. And it's like, for a long time, that's what happened until Bane creates the rule of two. That's where I want them to play for years.
Yeah.
I want them to play there for years, because another thing is they're not beholden to everything. You know, like, okay.
It's so far in the past. Yeah.
You can make up whoever you want. And there's
Yeah.
the fans can say, well, that's not who, I mean, the hardcore fans can go, well, that's not how Revan was. That's not how, and that's fine. But like, you're establishing it to a brand new audience. I don't know. That to me is the most exciting. And then there's other things, and they're really expanding into this era of the New Republic with Boba Fett and Mandalorian. There was another story, by the way, that there's still Robert Rodriguez was playing kind of coy with Boba Fett, and whether season 2. I don't see it happening.
I don't either.
I don't think it should happen.
No.
It's like, why?
Yeah, I'm having a problem being really interested in the New Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I like.
Ahsoka you're interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am just like the way that it's been presented right now.
Yeah.
I'm saying what we saw, the episodes of the Mandalorian season 3 that really focused on the New Republic. I was like, I want to be interested in those
government
scenes.
itself.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
politics of it itself, because it is interesting. But then it's like, we got Jack Black and Lizzo, right? It's like,
Right.
and there was just a few scenes where I was like, I get where they're trying to go with this. I just feel like it's not
And
catching me.
I agree, and I think that I hate to say it because I love him so much, but like, I think it's a little bit of a Filoni problem. I think it's a little bit of a Filoni problem where if you look at Andor and the way Andor set up, almost like Game of Thrones type politics in that series, that's not the vibe you get in Mandalorian. Now, also to be fair to him, I don't think he was very involved in Mandalorian season 3. I think he's going to be doing way more in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So I should say it's more of a Favreau problem because he executive produced that show, but it felt more cartoony. It felt more like, well, that's what George would do. He'd make it a little lighter, but that doesn't mean that look, George is the king. We know that, and we're not talking about him right now. But it's like the cartoony version of it. It's like you can make it a little bit more involved, the politics side of it and all that on all the shows. You can still have the big battles and all that in Mandalorian because that's what the Mandalorian did. But it's like just short writing, get to the point, cutting out that speech that Katie told us about on the show.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that type of stuff is just, you want to develop more. Right.
Like the Dr. Pershing episode was 30 minutes of just Dr. Pershing and that story with the rogue New Republic agent. And it just felt like a solo Star Wars story, as opposed to like, this is the New Republic. Like, understand what this reign looks like.
It felt out of place.
Right.
It felt out of place also because it was this big, massive episode, which I thought was well written and there was detail to it.
And I like Dr. Pershing's
Me too.
character.
But but the difference, people are like, well, you didn't mind it when it was Boba Fett. It's like, yeah, because Mandalorian was an established character that we were excited to see again in a series. When Boba Fett happened, you're like, oh, okay, because Boba Fett was fairly boring, and then he shows up, and you're like, okay, that works for me, even though it was out of place for sure. But it was a character you knew already. Dr. Pershing was a kind of a good actor, but side character, and so was Katie O'Brien. They gave a full episode. The intercutting would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But that is a good point, how New Republic plays. You could, if you intercut with stuff and showed a little bit more of how the New Republic is working, and that there was infiltration going on through the First Order and all that as they were building up, very similar to kind of what happened with the Sith and the Jedi. So the history kind of repeats itself.
Right. It feels small, right? But I know it's an entire thing happening that's building.
Right.
But we only saw these two characters really working on like the good side, the bad side, kind of. And with Din's character, it's like that is a character that we've invested off going on one-off stories with him, right? And with Dr. Pershing, he's a piece to a puzzle. Yes. He's a piece of the New Republic.
It's
not just his character.
Right. But I also think that one of the things, too, that they get scared of, and they should, is because Star Wars is always, because George Lucas has said it was meant for children and everything, too, but there's evolution that can happen because at the time it was meant for kids, but adults wind up liking it. And you can still, when you look at a novel, even though they say it's Star Wars for kids, but yet they'll make a novel like Claudia Gray's Bloodline, which is very politically driven inside of it, as it should be. And it's like, have you read that one?
I think I've read a few of Claudia Gray.
So Bloodline is the one where Leia is essentially running for Mon Mothma's position now that Mon Mothma has left. But the politics side of it, someone starts to get the dirt and they find out that Leia was Vader's daughter. And they use it against her in the way that people would use in politics today, right? And they use that and there's other things.
That's cool.
It's really cool, and it's like, and it worked, and how she had to maneuver it, and like, you know, Luke Skywalker is like her crazy brother off doing the stuff. Yeah, he's a hero of the rebellion, but where is he? He's doing all these crazy things, and then is history going to repeat herself? Are we going to have another Vader in there? And it's
right,
like, so,
that's cool.
Like that kind of stuff. It's like, play with that for a series, you know, play with those types of things. And I know that it gets tricky when it comes to Carrie Fisher and all that, but I'm just talking about in general things like that, the detail of it. And that's why I've been so adamant about adapt your freaking books, man.
Right.
Especially now when you have all these timelines.
Right. Yeah, the Star Wars is for kids thing, it continues to get more funny to me as a comment because why can the MCU and now the DCEU be for kids and adults? You know what I mean?
Like it's for both. It can it can be for both, but it is, I think it is a detriment and also a admirable trait of Filoni is that he's so loyal to George Lucas.
That's true.
That he sticks so much to what George's philosophies are, which a lot of it is the reason why you get quality Star Wars. There's no argument to that. But there's also, George Lucas was not perfect. There's a lot of things that George Lucas did with dialogue and other things and the faster, more intense stuff. It doesn't always work. And I wish Filoni would go away from that kind of stuff. And I hope he does in Ahsoka. He very well might. Apparently the episodes are a little longer and there's more detail to it. And he wrote all the episodes. And he directed a lot of them. So I'm curious. Yeah, I think we wait to judge all the way on how beholden he is to just George's vision until we see his series. Yeah. Because the movie, if the movie is going to be something too, Heir to the Empire, I mean, if they do it right, they could do 3 of those.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's so much there.
There is. And it could get exhausting, though. It could get exhausting, but it won't be exhausting if you guys are drinking Athletic Greens. I'll tell you that. All right, Athletic Greens. Our next partner is Athletic Greens. AG1 by Athletic Greens. It's great. I use it every day. I gave AG1 a try because, well, honestly, Brett Sheridan kept telling me about it. And he's like, it's good, man. I'm telling you, you got to try it. Because I was when they first kind of came in, I said, that sounds very interesting. And Brett was like, I've been taking it. It's awesome. And I did. And I've been taking it forever. You guys know that at this point. If you listen to my show long enough, you know how long they've been with us. And there's a reason, because I love them. You get better gut health, increased energy, immune system support, all of it. And I take AG1 usually right in the morning. It's just great. It gives me a good boost of energy. Not great with the keeping up with that supplement routine, and you get a whole bunch of different vitamins. I don't like it. It helps me with sleep quality too. Took some yesterday and just passed out and slept really, really well. Why do you want to take a bunch of different things? You can just take one scoop. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. I love it. I'm always looking for life hacks, man. And I did it. And I love and I trust AG1. And I love the responses I get from people who are saying that they love it too. You get it delivered to you every month. It's super easy, and you make it a daily habit. So if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. But you got to go to athleticgreens.com/big-thing. That's athleticgreens.com/big-thing. Check it out, baby. That's right, Athletic Greens. You've still been doing it?
I love Athletic Greens. I'm not gonna lie, I really do.
It's so good.
It really is good, and it makes it so much easier, especially the days where I feel like I can't. I love a kale salad. I'm not gonna lie, but some days I can't get my greens in, and then I'm like, I can
one
just
shot,
drink it.
That's it. Take one. I put. I mean, and it tastes good.
It does.
It looks like it should taste terrible.
Awful.
Yeah,
but it does, and it's not chalky. That's like the main thing for me. Yeah,
fruity. I likes.
Delicious.
Thank you so much. Before we get moving, I got to tell you, as I told you I would tell you.
Oh yeah.
I went to Mexico and went to Cancun with my family, and I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but Ellis gave was the one who officiated the wedding, and it was on the beach. And what's hilarious is my dad is very much at this point like Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown, right? He's got the hair coming, he wore these sunglasses, amazing outfit, and he was late to the wedding, and my brother's like, where the hell is he? I go, don't worry about it. Don't focus on it. He's like, he's going to wind up going and having a cross past Ellis. And I go, we'll figure it out. And Ellis can always roast him in the middle of it. It's fine. So my uncle is going to bring my dad. And then my cousin's like, they're lost. He doesn't know where to go. So my cousin runs out, goes to get him. And the wedding starts, and my brother comes out, and my now sister-in-law come out. And my dad and my uncle and my cousin get there, but they don't cross. Instead, they go to cross on this hill to go get there. But the hill doesn't go anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
So the three of them are just standing there.
Stop.
Looking like very noticeable statues watching down, and it looked like a new Back to the Future movie, because my uncle is around 57, 58. My dad is near 80, and my cousin is like 21. So it looked like a Hangover
Like a
movie or something.
reboot,
It was incredible, and so I did my speech, and I was going to definitely put some, give them a little bit, and I did. But my sister-in-law's dad gave the first speech, and then my brother said, "Do you want to go second?" I was like, "Yeah, but my daughter Vivian wants to do one." So my daughter goes first. I let her go quick, and she's preparing it for a little bit.
No.
So she's like, Stacy's always been a part of the family, and for as long as I can remember, 10 years, and she goes, I have to say, it's about time, guys, right? And the delivery
That's
was just
really awesome.
hitting it. You're gonna love this part though, because she goes, she's talking, and her timing was really good. She waited for the audience to laugh, and she goes like, she's pretty much been a part of the family, but she goes, but now she's legally part of the family. And then she looks and she goes, this guy knows what I'm talking about. And they got a massive laugh, and she did it. She did like 6 or 7 minutes, crushed.
6 or 7 minutes.
And everybody started talking about her, and just like how natural she was and everything too. And
That's really hard.
It was amazing. She was really funny, and it was. And Ellis and I were both like, the two stand-up comedians, kind of like, yeah, that's it. Take your time and go, and then ended with a good kid joke. My dad would always make kids laugh, like if they were like just sitting there. My dad forever would look and go, "Duty," right? So kids love duty.
They do.
They do. And so my daughter ends, and she goes, "Before I leave tonight," she said a lot of nice, kind and peaceful words to get everybody kind of aw. And then she goes, "I leave you with this tonight. These words of wisdom that from the great man, my grandpa Phil. I leave you with this." And she pauses and she goes, "Duty," and she runs off.
Oh my God.
It's hilarious.
What?
It was really good.
How old is she?
11. Yeah.
Jeez, I could have never.
She was, and the people were like, she wasn't even nervous at all. I was like, no, she was chomping at the bit together. Meanwhile, you get the other one, Silvio Dante, and she's just like, again, if she's Silvio Dante, I don't really want to eat the cake. I want to go back to the room. And I'm like, but your dancing isn't happening. I don't care about the dancing. I want to go back. I want to watch Wildcrats. But on the Wildcrats on the phone. And then the dancing happens, and she's like, I may do want to dance. And she starts and she's just danced all night and then got pissed off. Why are we leaving? Why do we got to go?
Amazing.
Yeah, and she didn't want to leave, so it was great.
Oh my God!
So
Between the two of them,
yeah, that was it. So
range.
that was it. So you get a little bit of a story again with Big Thing. This is what happens.
Incredible.
So let's see if there's any more Star Wars news here that we can dive into before we switch to some other ones. All right, Steph. So we know that we're in the middle of this writer's strike right now, and now the production of The Mandalorian season 4, it could face delays due to the writer's strike, which I don't think is a big surprise. But nonetheless, according to a new report by Deadline, the writer's strike might delay production of the 4th season of The Mandalorian. The trade's co-editor-in-chief, Nelly Andreeva, is apparently hearing that the crew was initially targeting a September start date, but due to the ongoing industry-wide work stoppage, that is no longer set in stone. It's obviously known when, should it be delayed, production would start, for the same reason that's unknown how long the strike will go on. Some estimates have it going well into the summer and possibly into September or beyond. But this is obviously a very fluid situation and depends on when the writers and the studios decide to finally sign a deal. The Mandalorian premiered its season 3 finale last month. Lucasfilm has not officially announced the development of a 4th season. Series creator Jon Favreau stated in May that he was writing scripts for the 4th season, and in February it was reported that Favreau had completed the scripts and they were handed to Lucasfilm veteran Doug Chiang for concept art. The stoppage should stop shouldn't stop pre-production on the show, but Lucasfilm is likely getting ready for a situation where a deal hasn't been signed by Labor Day. The Mandalorian will be the latest production impacted by the strike, which has already seen high-profile shows and movies come to a delay. Favreau is the main writer of The Mandalorian, so if the strike were to go beyond the summer, he wouldn't be able to perform any writing duties on set, but what that means for his job as a showrunner is a blurry line that has yet been to define. That is also the case of Andor. For instance, whose showrunner and producer Tony Gilroy has announced he's going to cease all work on the show. The scripts had been completed right before the stoppage was announced. Grant Davis, Miguel Fernandez of Star Wars Newsnet reported previously about the writer's strike meaning for Star Wars, and they have an editorial up right now. There's a lot here inside of this story because if Mandalorian, first of all, we weren't really sure. We knew that Mandalorian season 4 was happening. The reason it's such a head scratcher to me overall of how they're going to handle this is I think now you're pretty much going to guarantee. They've already announced that like for Loki's getting pushed back to the end of the year for Marvel, and then Echo is moving into like 2024 now or something like that, I think. So I think what's going to happen is Ahsoka comes out late August, maybe in September now. They might push it back because they haven't even announced the date. They said August, but they didn't say when in August. I think it comes out early September, and then that's going to play until, October, November. Skeleton Crew, you're looking at February of 2023 now. Or we're in 2023, 2024. So I think, right? We're in 2023.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I forget all the time.
So February 2023, 2024 is when Skeleton Crew will happen. That gives them enough time to kind of push Mandalorian a little bit because if they were starting Mandalorian when they said at the end of this year, they were probably pushing to an end of the year type thing.
Right.
Because they're trying to move along to Filoni's movie. That's the thing now. When you have this Avengers type, you've got to stay on schedule in order to tell the story, which is going to prove to be a challenge to them, not only because of it's just how it goes, but because of this writer's strike, Right.
In my dream world, like this is what's great about a writer's strike because you see how important it does affect massive things, and not that everything lies on Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, but those are like some of the biggest players in the entire industry. Period. And so if they're getting affected by this, it would just be great if we could come to an agreement.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a dream, but it would be awesome if it did. Like, it hurt the pockets of Disney a little bit. They felt it in their streaming because now things are getting delayed, which is going to delay the movie, which is massive. That's most of Lucasfilm's like hopeful budget coming out. And so, I think it's it makes sense that it's getting pushed back.
Yeah, I think it for sure, and I think that it's more affecting the Filoni verse at this point than it is even Disney too.
That's true.
Because Disney, as I said earlier, Disney was prepared for this, as a lot of the studios were prepared for this, and some of the studios, most of the studios, wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to pay the amount of writers that they had to in a particular room for shows. They're trying to figure that out, so they also can push back stuff. They also have stuff in the can that they can use, hence pushing back Loki, pushing back Echo. They have stuff that they can air, and then same thing with Star Wars. So they're okay. I mean, you look at Chapek, who made all these streaming deals and certain things that they don't have to really adhere to anymore because these deals are either going to fall through or something's going to happen. So studios aren't sweating at all. It's unfortunately the writers and everyone else who are, because they're the ones who are losing the money in the pocket. The studio is not losing it yet, and that's why it's going to stretch into August, September, because the studio can afford for it to go on that long. So don't be fooled by it. It's not like we can't come to an agreement. The studio's going, we'll get to it when we get to it. And unfortunately, it's not. It sucks, but it's just they need this to save money. And so I think it's going to go on for that, and you're going to start getting delays, and you're not wrong where they're like, okay, well, we're going to take a hit on that, and maybe instead of when we thought Mandalorian was going to come out, it'll do this, and hey, we've delayed Star Wars movies before, so we delay it again. That's why I think, again, why in the world, if you're Kathleen Kennedy, are you out there saying every 3 years we're going to do a movie? What are you talking about? Don't say that.
Right.
Don't say we'll get them out when we get them out.
It's so bizarre.
Stop it.
Yeah, we have no idea where the industry, even from last year, it's completely different every year on things. So it doesn't make it.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Just say we're excited to make them events. We're really putting everything that we have, the effort that we can to make these event films, and we can't wait for you guys to see them. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't say, we're going to make them every 3 years now. So what does that mean?
What does it mean?
2025 is the Ray movie. 2028 is now the Filoni movie, and then 2031 is the Mango movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense.
At all. But I'll tell you what does make sense. ExpressVPN. That's right. ExpressVPN makes a lot of sense. It makes sense for you to use, and it also makes sense for you to be warm with blankets, and that's RUMPL. Now, I've told Steph about RUMPL years ago, Steph. You remember I was telling you about RUMPL?
Yes.
And RUMPL is the best. I love me some RUMPL. RUMPL is on a mission to introduce the world to better blankets. They're made with durable, sustainable materials, and they're built to last. RUMPL recycles over 5 million plastic water bottles a year, and they are B Corp certified, climate neutral, and they donate 1% of all of their sales to environmental causes. They are built to endure the elements. RUMPL blankets are made with durable materials. They repel spills, sand, stains, and odor. They're the best. The RUMPL blankets aren't just for outdoors, though. They're perfect for watching movies on the couch, kicking back in bed, or bringing with you to your local theater. I love them. I have them. I have one that I bring to like soccer games and picnics and all that, and then I have one that I just watch movies on the couch with my wife. They're great. For Big Thing listeners, you go to rumpl.com/thebigthing and use that code thebigthing at checkout, and you will get 10% off your first order. But you got to use that link, rumpl.com/thebigthing. Use that code thebigthing. ExpressVPN, baby. Using the internet without ExpressVPN, that's bad. It's like having a first aid kit but not keeping it stocked up. For what? Most of the time you'll be fine. But what if? What if you suddenly get into a horrible accident and there's nothing in your first aid kit to help you stop the bleeding? Every time that you connect to an unencrypted network, whether it's cafe, hotel, airport, any hacker on the same network can gain access to your personal data. It doesn't take much technology knowledge to hack someone. It really doesn't. My 11-year-old could do it. Your data is valuable. You know, the hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal information on the dark web. So what you want to ask this question: why do I want to use ExpressVPN? Well, it has an encrypted tunnel that creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet, and hackers can't steal your sensitive data. Super secure. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. Very easy to use. You fire up the app and you click one button to get protected. And it'll work on all your devices, whether it's your phone, your laptop, tablets, all that stuff. I have been using it. I really enjoy it. I like protecting my family. You should protect yourself, protect your family, protect everybody, and get ExpressVPN. You secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/thing, expressvpn.com/thing, and you can get extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/thing. All right, let's move on. Thank you, first of all, to both ExpressVPN and RUMPL. You help out the show. You help yourself out. We only get sponsors on this show that we think our audience is going to enjoy. So we hope that you check out both ExpressVPN and RUMPL today. All right, so the other thing now, we're going to switch over. We're going to do some more things here. We're going to talk about some more news topics. We talked a lot of Star Wars stuff, and I want to get all your thoughts on Star Wars and anything that we talked about today, so make sure you leave your comments. However, there were some other things that dropped in the world of movie news today, and I want to go over it with Steph. Let's talk about this trailer, man. The creator. This is the new Garreth Edwards, who directed Rogue One. Haven't heard from Garreth Edwards in quite a while, but he's doing this movie. And here it is. This is the creator with John David Washington, and I had never even heard of this film until today.
Same.
And I know that I heard that Garreth Edwards was working on something, but then this comes up. It looks like Terminator meets kind of Elysium meets District 9, and you've seen this kind of story before in a certain aspect that the computers have taken over and AI is kind of taken over now, and they cause kind of a nuclear thing. But what I did like was, and even it had like and I don't like this movie, but it had like a chappy feel to it too. But what I did like about it was the way that they presented the AI. They're running around in these like robot bodies with these helmets on. And then it looks like, again, a familiar story that John David Washington has to protect this kid, the AI kid. But and we were just talking about the writer strike. And one of the big things with the writer strike is this AI stuff.
Right.
AI, I'm telling you right now, and I'll sound like a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. I remember being a kid, and I don't know how old I was. I was young, and I remember them coming up with this story that I read, and the story was like, one day you'll be able to just push a button, and the groceries will come to you, and that's called Amazon. All of these different things that have been predicted in the Jetsons and all these things from the 60s, whether it's been 15 years or 30 years, they've come true. There have been so many movies and so many theories that AI could take over, and that from the dinosaurs to us to AI. I'm not telling you it's going to happen in 10 years. It could happen in 400 years. Humans ain't going to be the thing. If we keep messing with AI, look what AI can do today.
Right.
Who knows what's going to do in 1,000 years from now, whatever it might be. But that being said, I use the programs. So do you. Everybody uses the programs and the stuff. And look at what the AI can do with the pictures. Because as human beings, that's what we do. So this movie.
Ooh, let me try.
Yeah. So this movie, this trailer was pretty great. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it looked fantastic. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, it looked awesome.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
It's kind of like horror's making a huge, not comeback. It didn't go anywhere, but I feel like horror's really in right now. This is the scariest to me because it's real.
Yeah, it's smart that they're playing on this too. But I really like the presentation of, and you know what else it also felt like? Minority Report in a bit.
Totally.
It had like a Minority Report feel of what Tom Cruise kind of having to protect the visionary.
And then what was that one where there was like no one could get pregnant for?
Oh, right. That's the
It's
Quran
so
movie. Yeah, the with Clive Owen. I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of it. You guys are screaming at me right now. But I got the movie. I just can't place the name of it. But yes, it has that. It has, again, familiar themes, but done in a way that still looks original, right? And I think that and it's new science fiction. I was talking about it on Monday, where I enjoy watching the comic book movies. I enjoy watching them come out too, but like I want to see more stuff, and I think there's a reason why blockbuster movies like Top Gun and Avatar did really well. But you look at Transformers. Transformers is tracking terribly, and I think people are fatigued with it. And it's sandwiched in between The Flash, Indiana Jones, and Spider-Man. So there's a reason why it's not going to do as well. But this is a movie. This isn't going to be that big, massive, huge budget, big enough. But at the time when I hope it comes out, I think towards the end of the year is when I think it's set. Then it might actually do decent business. At least I hope it does.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those, and I can't yet describe what makes me feel a certain way when I say I want to see that in the theater. John Wick 4 does it.
Yes.
Like this did it.
Right.
Top Gun Maverick obviously did it to watch that Top Gun guy.
The Top Gun guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but something about this where I was like, I want to see this in the theater.
Right.
And I don't know. I like Garreth Edwards.
Yeah.
Not one of my. It's not like I have to see like James Cameron. I have to see it in the theater. But this, I was like, oh hell yeah! I definitely see the pulls from Rogue One shots too.
For sure. And but either way, it's an interesting science fiction film, and I'm curious what you guys think. Did you like the trailer? Do you want to see it? Want to know more?
Is it too close to home?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead. And do you think AI is going to take over the world? All right, here's the next one. Going to another trailer here. Mission Impossible 7. I did my trailer reaction today. I haven't talked to Steph about it yet, but the latest in the Mission Impossible. Now, you have not watched the Mission Impossible movies, is that right?
It's totally
You
right.
haven't seen any of them?
No, I've seen like the BTS of his crazy stunts because it's incredible, but I haven't seen the movies.
You would love these movies.
I think I would too.
No, I know you would.
Yeah.
You would love these movies. So if I was to guess, because I know because we're potentially talking about Steph watching them down for this channel, but if I was to guess, you'll like the first one. You think it's fine. The second one, you might just go, "What the hell's going on?" This seems. You're going to see the second one. You're going, "What is everyone talking about?" Because
it's like heady.
No, it's a John Woo movie more than it's a Mission Impossible movie. It's just like, which was fine. It was like kind of transferring over his '90s vibe into it. I watched it recently and I didn't hate it as much as I did when I saw it in the theater the first time. I saw it in the theater and I hated it because I liked the first one, thought the first one was clever, but then the second one comes out, this is awful. And there's a major shift in the third one. The third one, J.J. Abrams directs.
Oh, yeah.
And it shifts it into this different direction, very similar to what Fast and the Furious did with number 5. And
Right.
shifted into it. But this is a franchise that you can't say this about a lot of different franchises. Gets better and better and better every movie, right? So the Dubai one you're gonna love. The other they just keep getting better and better and introducing new characters. So this trailer, which you watched and you didn't know anything about any of the characters, so you're not gonna have that same kind of like when I do and I go, oh, that character's back.
Right.
But what did you think overall of this particular trailer? Were you confused, or what kind of vibes were you getting?
I was a little confused, but kind of like what you've said, Mission Impossible has done such a good job where they've just made a different lane, like Fast and Furious has, where I'm like, this looks awesome.
Right.
And so I feel like not knowing anything other than there's this mission that's impossible is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the whole thing, because it looks intense, and as I was watching the trailer, I'm like, my adrenaline was pumping just watching it. And as you're more invested, I would highly recommend, obviously don't see it until you've seen all the movies, because there's just more of an emotional attachment behind it. And this is part 1 of part 2, which I think ends the entire franchise. So there's like this whole, and the Henry Cavill one is really great. And like, yeah, I want to go back. I just watched them recently with my wife during the pandemic. We watched all of them. I want to watch them again. I want to watch them again. Like,
I really want to.
Leading up to it, because they're that good. And this trailer had not only a Bourne feel to it, but it really, out of all of them, had the most James Bond feel that I've had. Like Esai Morales is the villain, and he seems like a very full-on Bond villain for this one. There's a lot of returning faces, familiar faces. And it's like the who's who of the Mission Impossible cast kind of getting back together to do this like one big mission. And Tom Cruise coming off of, Top Gun.
I know. I think this movie's going to do big numbers.
I think it's going to do massive numbers.
Yeah.
And it's coming out at the right time.
Right.
It's coming out in July when everyone is going to be really excited to see another big blockbuster movie. Flash will have been out already. Indy will be out already. Spider-Man will be out already. All these movies about in July. It's going to own July. It's going to own July.
Do you like the Mission Impossible franchise more than James Bond?
I do. Now, I mean, there's so many James Bond.
Right.
If you even new Bond, which I liked a lot, I like the Mission Impossible movies more. I know that I'm in a very small minority here, which is the
Mike's
definition.
somewhere screaming.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people. So is Brad Gilmore. But like for me, if I was to rank the 3 franchises, I would go Mission Impossible, Bourne, and then Bond.
Okay.
Now, again, the Daniel Craig Bonds I really liked a lot. There's a lot of Timothy Dalton ones, but and I like the Bond movies, but they're more of kind of like I can take them or leave a lot of them.
Yeah.
But Bourne, the first 3 are just out of control. But Mission Impossible is such a solid franchise.
Yeah.
It really is. So excited to see it. I want to know what you guys think. Do you want to see Mission Impossible? Are you excited to see the new one? What did you think of the trailer? Go ahead and let me know. Let me know your comments. Speaking of movies coming out in the summertime and franchises returning, Indiana Jones, baby. Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny comes out at the end of June, but Disney Plus confirms that all 4 movies and the TV show are going to begin streaming later this month. Now, this to me is a no-brainer. I mean, they now own the property. It's been on Paramount Plus because Paramount was who made the movies and stuff too, but they own it now. They got it, and then they're going to start putting it on there, and I think it's a very smart move. As we just talked about with Mission Impossible, you're gonna do all the rewatches, and why not do the rewatches on their app? Of course they're going to do that, and it makes sense to find it all in one hub.
Yeah.
So you just recently started watching Indiana Jones. You've watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So and you watched those pretty recently, they're fresh in your mind. All right. I'm gonna see how much I think I know you.
Okay.
We have similar tastes in movies.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you my favorites first.
Okay.
And then I'm going to tell you what I think your favorites are.
Okay.
My favorite of all of them is Raiders of the Lost Ark, because Raiders of the Lost Ark to me is just a pure adventure film. It set it all off. Most people like Last Crusade the most. That's one with his dad, with Sean Connery and the dad. I think that's your favorite. And I think then Raiders, and then I think Temple of Doom.
Absolutely. That's spot on. That's spot on.
Right. So
like fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third one is very detailed, has a lot
It's
of humorous
Sean
moments.
Connery.
Sean Connery's
it's
great.
Just
in it.
like that guy, rocks.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, and so that but the first one to me was just the pure. You could see that vision of what George Lucas.
There's
wanted
magic
to
in
do.
the first one.
And
Yeah,
what Lucas wanted to do with that one, and Spielberg got it right away. And like the shots of when he walks into the bar, and there's the big shadow, and the relationship with him and Marion.
yeah.
Did you think Marion was dead when she got into the barrels?
Yeah.
and blew up in the car.
I thought so. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I think I really did.
Yeah.
And then when she came back, I was like, oh, that was a great.
They did it well.
They did it well.
And then there's that famous moment where obviously, do you know the story behind? And I'm sure you laughed at this moment because it's up your sixth sense of humor when the sword man is swinging the sword and then he just shoots him dead.
Oh yeah,
in the thing.
yeah.
Do you know the story behind that?
No.
So it was supposed to be a sword fight.
Oh
It was
really?
supposed to be a sword fight, but Harrison Ford was sick that day. So he said, "Why don't I just shoot him?" And Spielberg's like, "Go for it." And it's like that. It's an iconic moment.
It's so
a straight up
good.
murderer.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just like, shut up.
Yeah, and
It's so good. Yeah, because I love that in the kung fu movies. There's a lot of that where they're all the wind up, and then someone's just like, no.
Yeah, he just blasts him down. So, and it's Harrison Ford at his height of being a movie star.
Yeah.
Very hard to do and getting away from typecast. Because remember, this is 1981 when that movie came out. That's a year removed from Empire Strikes Back. So to everybody, he's Han Solo.
Yeah.
And then and do you know who was supposed to be Indiana Jones?
Who?
Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck was who they wanted, and he couldn't do it because of Magnum PI. So then they put Harrison Ford in there.
I just can't imagine anyone else.
No, and the new one they showed that extended scene. Did you see that one? There's an extended scene that came out in Indiana Jones. Yeah. So I'm very curious here. The fourth one is atrocious.
Everyone says that.
It's atrocious.
What about it? So it's not worth watching?
No. You should watch it to know what's going on. Because I think there's some references in the new one too. You should definitely watch the fourth one. I mean, it's just, and there are some people. There are some people who defend it, right? I just think it's completely. It suffers from, I think, the same type of thing that the prequels kind of suffered from, where some of the writing is not great.
Okay.
I mean, there's some stuff that happens in the beginning. It doesn't feel the new trailer feels like an Indiana Jones movie. The first three, even Temple of Doom. Did you find Temple of Doom to be pretty cheesy?
Yes, I got annihilated in the comments of my reaction because of my opinion of Willie.
What was your opinion of Willie?
I think she's one. The actress, just to make clear, Kate
Capshaw,
Capshaw is great. The character, I want to like fight in the ring. She was the most aggravating character, one of the most like pull my hair out characters on screen I've ever seen, especially coming from the Marion.
Yeah.
And I know,
Night and
like,
day.
people got they're like, it's not her fault. I know it's not her fault. I'm just saying this woman, like, I get she's a damsel in distress. She's a fish out of water, whatever. Doesn't take the whole movie to realize what you're on. Like, it survived. Like, oh God, she was so aggravating.
She definitely, and by the end of it, but how about our boy Ke Kwan?
He's the best character by far.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I feel like he should have been in the other. I know 3 was a prequel.
No, 2's a prequel.
Oh,
2's a prequel.
Okay, yeah. I think he should have been in the rest of the movies. Is he going to be in 5?
He's not going to be in the new one, no.
I just think Shorty is such an epic character, and it bugged me that she took over.
I think what's funny about it is, had they started working in development of this movie was in development for the new one for a long time. Had this one been in development when Everything Everywhere All at Once had already come out, he would have definitely been in it.
Speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once, my dream vision of 2 would have been, because they open up and I think they're in China, right? They're in Shanghai or something like that.
No Time for Love, Dr. Jones.
Right. And they have all of a sudden these like Asian looking dancers, and you turn around and it's Kate Capshaw. And it's like, what? But what if, hear me out, the whole time it was Michelle Yeoh and she was the main lead character, and then go into an actual capable woman story.
I understand
Do you know
what
what
you're
I
saying.
mean?
Yeah, but it's like it was a very different time when they made the movie too.
Totally.
It was the first PG-13 movie, I think, or no, Red Dawn was, I think, but it was PG-13. It was the first because of the heart getting ripped out.
Right.
And all that.
The set is incredible.
Yeah, I love Temple of Doom. I love that movie, but it is. I tried to watch it with my wife not too long ago, and she had never seen it. it's hard to get people. It's a very 80s kind of campy movie,
Yeah.
more so than the other ones, but I still really enjoy it. And it gets dark too. The tone's kind of all over the place. But the fourth one, to answer your question, there's one scene where Shia LaBeouf is swinging in the trees with monkeys.
Amazing.
Not really. And then I also don't think Harrison Ford was tuned into Indiana Jones. He seems like Indiana Jones in these new trailers. He seemed like Harrison Ford, just kind of acting like, what am I doing here? I got a paycheck. And then Kate Blanchett is completely wasted, I think. So,
Oh yeah, I've heard that. Who's like one of my favorite actresses of all time.
So I'm curious to hear what you think.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let me do one more story, then we're going to get out of here
Cool.
for today. Here we go. All right, let's do this. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He says he ain't coming back to Terminator. Not going to do it. We're staying with the franchises. He ain't doing it. Says he's done. And he says also that he doubts that the Legend of Conan is going to happen. This is a comic book movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger says he's finished playing the Terminator franchise's T-800 while also casting doubt on the possibility that he'll reprise the role in Conan. Arnold has been part of the Terminator franchise from the start and returned to lend his talents to later installments as well. While his cameo in Salvation was created with CG, the actor took on leading roles in Genesis and Dark Fate. Now, there's a new approach that would be needed, and if it happens, it'll be minus the T-800, because he was talking to the Hollywood Reporter, and this is what he said. The franchise is done. I'm done. I got the message loud and clear, and the world wants to move on with a different theme when it comes to the Terminator. Someone has to come up with a great idea. The Terminator was largely responsible for my success, so I'll always look at it very fondly. The first 3 movies were great. Number 4, I was not in because I was governor. Then 5, Genesis, and 6, Dark Fate. It didn't close the deal as far as I'm concerned. We knew that ahead of time because they were just not well written. That's not Arnie's only iconic role, of course, as his big break in Hollywood came playing Conan the Barbarian. We also heard about plans for the Legend of Conan for years, but it doesn't sound like the project anywhere near as far along as many outlets have reported. Arnold now says, it has been pending for the last 10 years. Frederick Malberg owns the rights. He came up to me and he says, I have a deal with Netflix. And we had asked Netflix, they didn't know anything about it. It is one of those crazy things. I hope he figures it out. There's a great script out there that John Milius wrote, and others have written one. The story is there. There are directors who want to do it, but he has the rights. And until he sells the rights for 1 or 2 movies or for the franchise, there's nothing you can do about it. It's a shame to think that the actor won't be back as either one, but who knows? We shall see. Stallone, example, has closed the doors on Rocky, but then he found new roles in Marvel and DC. So let's talk about, what do you think about the quotes from Arnold?
It's interesting that they brought up Stallone, because I was thinking about that. Like, there's this similarity in there. To me, I loved Terminator 1 and 2. I watched
1
those
and
during
2.
the pandemic. Yeah. I haven't seen
You
the
hadn't
other
seen
ones.
them before?
No, hadn't seen them before.
1's my favorite.
They're
I
excellent.
like 1 better than 2.
Yeah, they're both awesome. I can't tell. I could go back and forth on which one I like more. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
I don't need to see more of that, so I feel like that's okay.
See, here's similar to what I was saying about Back to the Future the other day. The reason I like 1984's Terminator the best is because it's a lower budget film before Cameron was really Cameron, and it's a horror movie more than it's a horror.
Right.
It's a science fiction horror film
For sure.
Again, very detailed, layered, high concept. I think that if you shot it like that, if you're going to do a movie again and you shot it and you went back to basics and get out of this $150, $200 million range, shoot the movie for $75 million, $80 million, get some other kind of unknown actors to do it, and to do a Terminator movie. You could always deep fake Arnold if you had to do it, right? And you get his likeness to do it, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in it. So I do think there's a way to do it if they just, right now people are exhausted with the franchise. So it'd be hard to do. Plus, you don't want to put 150, 200 million because you might run into the Transformers thing that people are tired of it and you're going to lose the money. But if you make it for cheaper, then you have a chance to make a profit on it. Or you can go back and do the Sarah Connor Chronicles with Lena Headey came out and was ahead of its time because it was on Fox. I think if you would have done that today on streaming, much better show. So I think there is a way to do it. But I think it's more likely to get Arnold back as King Conan. I think they still can figure it out. If the guy can sell the rights, they can still get him to potentially do it.
Yeah, I think with Transformers, my opinion is not that I'm tired out of the franchise. It's that this specific story, I don't know how to explain it, but cars turning into Transformers makes more sense to me than an animal.
Yeah.
You know, like the premise of it feels like
the Transformers ones.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, well, it's based off of a popular animated line.
Okay.
Of the Beast Wars, right? So
Right.
the reason why I'm excited about that movie more so now is because of Stephen Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2.
I love Creed 2.
Yeah, so
I think that's my favorite of the
is it your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay, so Creed, he's a good director, and he's apparently a really big Transformers fan. I think Michael Bay pissed all over that franchise. I think people are so tainted because I think there's a reason why the Bumblebee movie should
Which
also
is
be called.
actually a great movie.
Great movie. Love
But no one
Bumblebee.
cared about it. No one watched it.
It actually
I'm
did
saying.
better
Oh.
than I thought. So when I was going over the numbers, because I felt the same way you did. I thought it did really bad. It didn't. It made
Okay.
like $500 million. And
Oh,
just
wow.
compared to the other movies, other Transformers movies, which were way worse. Those movies did the first two at least or three.
Aren't they the highest grossing?
They're in the range. They did really, really big numbers. So, and because they just significantly got worse and worse, every Michael Bay movie that he did, that people were like, this is exhausting. This sucks. This is corny. And then they thought it was going to be the same because what I was saying is most people, like if you talked, I don't how much your mom and your dad love movies, right?
Right.
But do they pay attention to who directed what?
No.
Right. So they don't know when they see Transformers and they see this, they just think it's gonna be the same shit because they're
Totally.
like, okay, well that's Michael Bay.
They have
or
no
know
idea. They
who
don't
that
pay
is.
attention to writers,
right,
nothing.
Right, exactly. And that's majority of audiences
Yeah.
like that. So, and that's probably what they think. It's another Transformers movie. They're not doing the research to say, well, Stephen Caple Jr. really knows about these Beast Wars things, and because
No.
right, and Beast Wars could come off silly if you don't know, but I actually think it's going to play really well. I think it's going to be a good movie. It's tracking like Shazam, Fury of the God numbers. Yuck.
Not good.
It's tracking bad. It's tracking like Morbius numbers.
If it's good, that's awesome. I love gorillas. So
Yeah, right. So why not?
Yeah, I just saw it and I was like, I need a massive edible for this
Makes sense.
storyline.
Totally. All right, guys. So that was it. That was our kind of mixed match of both all the Star Wars stories and of some of the current news stories that are happening today. I want to know what you thought. Let me know what you think of this format leading up to us doing Ahsoka. We're going to be doing this format until Ahsoka hits to where we can do full spoiler review and really dive back into it. So you're gonna kind of have a mixture of the Star Wars show and this because, like I said, not a lot going on with Star Wars. I think we can cover it in the first half an hour and then we can cover the rest of the news topics as we did today. But I want to get your topics. Oh, your topics, sure. I want to get your comments, your thoughts on everything we talked about in general. Help comment and like. It helps the show tremendously. And I'm trying to do as many of these and getting them out there as much as possible. And I'd like to also thank Steph. So Steph, where can the good people find you?
At Steph Sabraw.
That's it.
That's
How's
it.
the World Girls going?
Oh, great.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Wednesday nights, catch us live.
Well, there you go. And for here, once again, if you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, show a little, hit that button, get us to 100,000. Head on over, man. Get those tickets today. The big thing, thekristianharloff.com. Get tickets for the 23rd and 24th. Help us out, man. Want to try to get there. I don't want to cancel shit. If we have to, we have to. I understand. But that's it. That's the big thing for today. I appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow with Roxy and Brett Sheridan. Peace out, Mother Fs.